Yo, it's CentralParkHipHop.com. Kick it.
Greetings. Peace, everybody. Welcome to the Art of Hip Hop podcast. My name is Derek, and I'm joined today by Jex the Joker.
Yes, sir. What's going on, y'all?
Hiding to be found.
What's good? How's it going?
And 3-2.
What up?
All right, so I got a couple of rhetorical questions for all of y'all. You don't have to answer these right now. We're going to get into it. What is art? What is hip hop? And what is dope hip hop art? These are the questions that we're going to be wrestling with over the course of this series. Now, art is subjective. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder and all that good stuff. There's a song, I think it's called Check 1 2 by EPMD, where Eric says, what you might say is dope, I says not. What I might call whack, you'll call hot. So, art. You can never really define what is good art. It's always subjective. But that's kind of because art itself is a very hard thing to pin down. Would you call graffiti art, or would you call it vandalism? Kind of all depends on where you're coming from. So this is what I would like to do. I would like to propose three things, three guiding truths, principles that we'll adhere to over the course of this podcast as we get into this discussion. I'm going to propose that we're going to be all over the place with our definitions. Your definition will be different than mine on certain things, and it might even change. We might even have contradictions throughout this extended discussion, and that'll be fine with me. And then lastly, I will propose that we will agree not to agree all the time. Will we at least agree with these three principles?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. So we're going to skip over all that qualifying stuff that we and our credentials.
Can we agree on the truth, though, if we talking history and hip hop?
Nope.
That's one thing I
Nope. How do you know it's true?
we could always look it up. We
How?
could always do our research.
How are we going to know it's the
We
truth?
could always go by how many stories are said about it of the same thing. Hip hop needs to be historically documented, so nothing of it could ever be twisted. So there's already people who are doing that. So we
I'm
go to them.
going to reserve my answer then. I'm going to say maybe. We can agree on it.
I'm not going to be cheat myself out of who I am and say that I agree with y'all to disagree. Now, opinions on artists but history facts, everything. I'm that. But yeah, I definitely will agree to disagree
Okay.
on y'all
All right.
opinions.
All right. So,
sir.
like I said, we're going to skip over all of our qualifiers and our credentials. So ultimately, listeners are going to grant us validity based on what we say. So let's just start talking. All right. Here's our main topic for today. We need to have like a departure point for this entire series, this entire podcast. And I've chosen to depart with the artist. No artist, no art. No art, you don't have any hip hop. So to be even more specific, I want to talk about artist motivations and the creative and conceptual aspect of art. There's this Canadian artist that I like, and I primarily like her because of this quote. And to paraphrase her, Sheila Shetzel, there is a myth that making art is fun and easy. Not true. Decision-making is serious business. Alone in the studio, immersed with inner thoughts, making art can be uncomfortable, challenging, exhausting, and frightening. She says, an artist needs enthusiasm, joy, and passion. Y'all know I agree with that. She says an artist should create for themselves. Do it just for you, not for exhibition and not for social media. So I'm going to double back to that statement a little later on, but I have a question, general question for the panel. What is hip hop to you? and why do you create it? I'm going to start with you, Hiding to Be Found.
Right. Hip hop to me, music in general has always been like my only outlet. So, I never really realized, but hip hop's kind of been around like the whole time. Like I never really thought I was really that into hip hop or that I could connect to it just growing up in like a Christian household and doing a bunch of rock music and stuff. But I was trying to rap around with like Lauryn Hill back during, Sister Act 2 when I was a little kid. So, I guess hip hop to me, it started out as like a way that I could release everything I was feeling. But it's turned into more than that, I guess. It's not really about myself anymore. So it was my release, and now it's more like something I gotta do to help everybody else. That's what hip hop is for me.
Nice. That's nice. 3-2. What about you?
That's dope. That's dope.
What is it to you, and why do you create it?
Hip hop to me is culture. It's a culmination of multiple elements, all of the things that were introduced to me by my dad when I was little. And it became the closest connection I found to my inner self. I'm a very shy person in general. So when I'm not on a stage, I'm very quiet. I'm a wallflower. I listen and observe more than I speak a lot. And so hip hop is like the outlet that I express all of the various. I'm a multifaceted person with multiple interests, and so I feel like I use hip hop as an outlet for me to escape into the thoughts and the ideas that I have that may not all be within the same box. Um, I also find that it's a way to keep connected to my culture and my people, and a way that I can just expel energy. Like when you're a quiet person and you're a wallflower, you may not always be bombastic and you may not be jumping around. But once I get on a stage or when I'm writing or when I'm even rehearsing a song, uh, that's when like I feel the most energized. Sometimes I get goosebumps and I feel my heart racing, and it's all about like, yeah, it's all about like that's where I find my excitement. That's where I find my peace. That's where I find my solace. Um, so whenever I need time to be myself, like the place where I feel the most home being myself is when I'm creating or observing or absorbing any
I
element
see
of
you.
hip hop.
Right. Isn't it wild that like for almost all of these artists in hip hop, well, maybe not graffiti so much, but for all of the other three main artists in hip hop, the cypher is like the most exciting event there is. That's when you feel like the most alive when you hop in it.
Right.
I feel like because people, they able to express themselves. They got a voice now. And it's anybody. It's not just the top artists. It's anybody. It could be the kid who been rapping on the block.
So, Jex, what is hip hop to you and why do you create
It's
it?
the gift of the gods, and because I am a god ordained by the Most High to have this talent to do something with it, and I'm still figuring that out to be able to help people on that level. So, that's what hip hop is to me. And hip hop is way more technically, but for me, I'm learning who I am, and this is a definite talent that I can't waste. So,
Got you.
it's a lifesaver. It makes me happy as much as all two them two right here when it comes to performing and create and or what you said too when it comes to creating and having a sense of awareness of what you want to do with your art. Um yeah, sometimes it is, but I don't think it's hard. If you have a free spirited mind, create what you want to create and
But
just
we're going to get to
I,
that.
just
We'll
be
get to that.
careful on wording it. I think wording it, not expressing it, but wording it.
All right. Well, we're going to touch on that here actually next because 3-2 even talked a little bit about that. I was going to ask, how do you choose what to create? How do you choose like your themes, your styles, your subject matter? Where do you pull from? Where do you get the inspiration from? How do you make that determination? And 3-2, since you kind of touched on it first, I'm going to ask you.
Just my environment around me. Like that's one of the things, like I mentioned, that I have multiple interests and multiple ideas about multiple things. So a lot of times it could be as I'm driving and I'm listening to the news and I hear a word or a phrase or an idea that implants itself, and I'm like, ooh, and I'll put it in my phone as a premise idea. I have a whole list of some. It could be that I'm watching an anime or a TV show and I hear something that's. It could be I'm watching a movie. It could be just something that I hear in another song, or it could even be a melody or a punchline that I hear in somebody else's song that sparks something in me. And so I have a list of premises, but then it becomes even more fluid than that when I sit down to create, because I'm almost never able to create what I sit down intending to make in that moment. It just takes on a life of its own more often than not when I sit down and I tell myself, like, I'm going to try to make this like a slow, heartfelt, like introspective beat for a song. And next thing I know, like I end up having to turn up the BPMs, and it ends up being like a more energized, and like my hands just start working on their own, and it takes on a life of its own. And next thing I know, I'm making something completely opposite of what I tried to intend to make. So then I just become a slave to the process, so to speak, and I
Right.
just let things do what they do. And then when I guess the universe decides what the next piece of art is going to be, and I just flow with
Sure.
it.
So you get, let me see if I get it correct. You pull inspiration from the
hmm
environment
hmm
around you, different things that stimulate you. And going back even to the Canadian artist's quote, like you do have to make decisions. You know, you're
hmm
creative, but you're much more open to letting it kind of organically flow and create itself.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Got you. Hiding to be found. How about you?
I guess kind of similar. In the past, I was really sad all the time. So that's basically what influenced everything I did. Like every song, everything I wrote was just, oh, I'm sad. I'm gonna write about that. Write about my upbringing, whatever. But these days I kind of do like, as you were saying, I just sit there and it just flows through me. Like I don't even think about what I'm gonna do these days. Like I've always been kind of abstract, but like now I just don't think about it. I start playing some stuff and I'm like, it's all about vibe now. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I'm feeling that. Ooh, I just sang this part. Let me clip that part real quick and whatever. Yeah. It's
Nice.
like that now.
So, you know, even just those two answers are two different ways of approaching it. 3-2's coming at it like, and there's a lot of crossover between all of this stuff, but 3-2's like environment and stimuli. And you're like, no, I'm more into like the emotions are
Yeah.
kind of driving your creative process. You know, it's even right there, you get diversity in how art comes about. So, Jex, how about you?
I think it starts with for me, life, whatever's
Okay.
happening in life, because there's
Okay.
times where I don't write at all. So one thing I do is let life take its course, and like I could say what 3-2 has said, taking a spark from a bar. I'm probably listening to some or Smack DVD, and it just give me that spark of just wanting to write something. So I start writing verses. I don't write whole songs out, and then it starts gradually building up. And the subject matters or everything in life. I also think about like what I can do to impress and shock, because I like shocking. I like shock factor bars. I like impressive bars. I like metaphors. I like all that lyrical type stuff too. So when I try to do that, recently I did a song um by myself though, and it was like singing. You got a verse where it's singing, and then it's rapping in both verses. It's very radio. I try not to curse. So I approach that also. I try to look at, different ways I could approach certain songs. And then when it comes to album process, I definitely try to make that like a movie. I'm tracking everything out to what song goes with what. Starting to listen to skits on other people's albums. So I'm incorporating my own skits. It's just given the being able to make art. You want to give somebody a visual perception. of your art, you going to try to do that. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I got 2 follow-up questions for you. So it sounds like
Yeah.
you'll draw from, like you said, you'll listen to a bar or something like that, another song or something like that. Where's the line at for you from straight up biting to inspiration, right? Like, where's that line? Like, no, I'm just inspired. I'm not biting. I'm just, you know?
Exactly taking the bar or exactly taking the flow. Like me and my boy Ryan the Deuce was talking about this. Shout out to Ryan too, man. Um, he's a lyrical monster. And we were talking about that. He was explaining how like you could explain the say the question again just a lot. I'll be having a quick dust moment.
What's the distinction between straight up biting someone, not even just
Oh,
borrowing, like I'm just
biting?
biting someone's
It
style, just
there's levels. Yeah, that's what me and Ryan was talking. Like there's levels to it. Like you could take somebody's bars. Like let's say I hop on let's say I'm thinking of a song, Nothing But a G Thing by Snoop Dogg, and I do a freestyle to it. And I do his same flow and cadence, but it's my own bars. I mean, it depends on that song. Again, that's a big song, so it depends. If biting, people bite in hip hop forever, but I mean, taking the bars and taking ideas and actually like you being around somebody, there's levels to it, man. You could really be a shark biter. They said Big was a shark biter because the cover of Ready to Die looked like Nas's Illmatic cover. So that Ghostface Killer and Raekwon was saying that, and it wasn't true. Maybe it was because we were learning Diddy how these execs move, but uh, there's levels to it. So I don't know. I just don't try to bite. If I am trying to, I try to mimic.
so 3-2. Let me toss this one to you real quick. You know Jermaine Dupri,
Mm-hmm.
So Def.
Uh-huh.
You know the biggest criticism
Yeah.
of So Def was like he was basically mimicking, he was copying, he bit whatever was popular. Snoop was popular, Brat sounded
Hmm
like Snoop. If Big was popular, Brat sounded
Mhm.
like Big. You know, basically all of his acts sounded like whatever was happening
Mhm.
at the time. Where's the line from?
So to me, the difference is, can you draw inspiration from something? Like a lot of times, if you're a true artist, you can draw inspiration and have that spark a new idea. So, for example, as a chef, there's a lot of inspiration that you can draw from multiple cuisines and multiple cuisine styles. So if I make a parallel to that, say I'm eating a dish at a restaurant where they have like a charred shallot on a dish where it's, the onion is actually by itself on the dish with a steak or something like that, right? And then I taste the shallot and I'm like, that is dope. That's very unique. Let me see how I can incorporate that in a dish. So I take the concept of that, and then maybe I char the shallot, and then I puree it, and I do it with chicken or lamb or duck instead of that, and I make a completely different dish based on the inspiration that I got from the flavor of the thing that I saw. So it's possible for you to take an idea or a concept from something that you hear, and without actually directly impersonating that or directly doing the exact same thing, but taking the concept of it, flipping it on its head, and then finding a new way to make it
Man.
be part of your style. And so that's and the yeah, so the
A
line.
question, a question for 3-2.
Uh-huh.
Do you think like something that Jay-Z does is similar to what you're talking about, or is it something what I'm talking about where he's a complete biter? Because that's a good example of somebody who will take like a J when the Remy's in the system, ain't no
Mhm.
telling when I diss them. That's a big line
Right.
from
So
around yeah.
there's definitely people who do both. Like there's people that you can tell, you can listen to a bar and be like, oh, I think that they got this idea from this. But then there's other times where people just straight bite. And I like, there's a lot of people that straight up bite lines, they bite
Drake knows
concepts
it.
and things like that. So like
Hmm
I'm not every person that straight up bites deserves a pass and being called having it called inspiration, because you're straight up you straight up took the line word for word and put it in your song. So that to me goes into the line of being a biter and just like not it's sort of like to me doing that is like when you take an old concept of a movie and reboot it. Like it's still the same movie. You didn't come up with a new idea or a new concept. You literally just redid the same thing
Mhm.
for new ears or for ears that are around you, especially ears that may not know enough to know that you bit the line from
Yeah.
somebody else.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
But Jax, back to you.
hmm
You made another point that I want to double back to. You said you like going for shock value, right? That tells me that part of your inspiration, one of the things that motivates you, partly talking about artist motivation, is the audience that you're writing for. At some point, you have in your mind an audience that you want to shock, unless you're trying to shock yourself, I guess. I mean, you could do that. So
I'm not trying to shock myself. I already know myself.
this Canadian artist that I'm quoting, she's not the Bible, clearly. We already agreed that we can all have different definitions and things like that. But one of the quotes that she said that I really liked is she said that you should create for yourself. Don't create for exhibition and don't create for social media. But that doesn't mean that's the only way to make art. You're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, like when you're creating, you are actually factoring in your audience. Is that right?
No, I don't look for, right now. I'm looking for anybody to catch my music. So, cause I'm rebuilding my whole brand. Like, so people know me as a battle rapper. You know what I mean? Like, and I've been putting music out since but not getting that much traction on it. You feel me? I feel like maybe I needed to sharpen my art up, and I've been doing that. You hear the song "Run and Done" is like fire, but it's just not a lot of views on it. You know what I mean? So I'm looking for any artist. So I say the shock shit. Why? I'm a fan of, first of all, Eminem and D12 and all that shit. So I really listen to them. You hear that "Run and Done"? I said I'm telling people to give me the breach, and if not, I'm gonna put a gun in their face and shoot them, and a gun in their father's face. Like, it's just lyrics like the way I said it too is fire. It's just lyrics like that. Like Styles P's another one. He's a gangster one that does it. So I'm listening to NWA. Like, these are influences, and I like bringing that shock. I'm a big horror movie fan. I also love telling the truth and talking about love and stuff, but the gimmick of what I'm doing with Jax the Joker is the misunderstood part of me, where I always have the best lyrical content, and that's why I'm putting it out. And it is soon unfold into more shit. But yeah, I don't have an audience right now. I just do it because first of all, I want to be sounding dope. And yes, yeah, sometimes it is to get your mind thinking and piss you off even too, because it has to have your mind thinking. And that's in some of the bars, that in some of the songs, if I said something thought provoking, you know what I mean? I slipped something in there too. Like, that's, you gotta listen to my stuff to see that.
Same question to 3-2 and hiding to be found. Do you factor in the audience at all when you're creating your
I do,
art? Is that a
for
motivating
sure.
factor?
For multiple reasons. In one regard, when I was coming up, so my dad introduced me to hip hop, but my mom was only like, she wasn't really a fan. And one of the things that my mom used to do is when I would listen to music, she would listen for the profanity.
Yeah.
And as soon as she heard the first profane word, it was like, cut it off.
Okay.
And I had other friends and like teachers when I went to alternative school in 8th grade, and sometimes one of our teachers would let us play music in the background during class, but her rule was no profanity. But she was a rock fan, so like I would hear students play rock music that would have profanity, but she would let it vibe
Exactly.
out, but she would listen for the profanity first. And then for a lot of people, it's like,
Mhm.
especially if they're not true hip hop fans, they look for an excuse to dismiss it, right? And so they use profanity as an excuse for them to dismiss it. And so it doesn't matter the overarching, it could be a positive song, it could be a socially conscious song, it doesn't matter to them. Because the minute they hear something like an N bomb or a curse word, to them, it's all in the same
And
bucket
then,
and it's
yep.
trash. So
Hey,
when I
Derek.
started from jump, one of my motivations was to make dope hip hop that I didn't curse in, that I found, like, I started finding that when people were listening to my music, they were listening for the profanity, and then next thing you know, the song is over, and they listen to every word because they were trying to dismiss it, and then they like you see the shock come over their face, and they're like, "Oh, I actually vibe with that because like I wasn't given an excuse not to." And so like that in conjunction with the idea, the fact that when I go to hip hop shows, I like dope performances. So when I write songs to perform them. I write them more so to perform them than I do to record them. And I feel because I love to put on a good show. That's being on stage is where I find the most peace out of the entire creative process. So when I write a song, I'm making flexes, I make breakdowns that change up the mood of the song and the intensity on purpose,
To
so that
help.
when I step on a stage, I can make people vibe with it and resonate
Right.
with it.
Right.
And I make music that's kind of I call it music that is in between the lines, like stuff that I feel like club music and drug music and thug music and all that stuff, like that's being done already. There's plenty of people, and I'm not knocking any of that, but there's so much other stuff to be talked about. And there's so much other stuff that we as regular people talk about, think about, listen to, speak about. And so I try to like talk about everything from the regular, like random stuff that you may think about conceptually to like everyday social issues and everything in between. So to me, I try to make my music relatable for the people that are listening to it so that they can resonate with it more.
That's the two quick things. Jax, you have something you wanted to say?
No.
So one, I don't know if you noticed, but Method Man, you guys all know Method Man, right?
Yeah, he's recently stopped cursing. Yeah.
I think it's been like 10 years since he cursed on a track, something like that. I think it's going on like over a decade since he cursed on a track.
Yeah, no, that's not
Then
true.
there's the other
You
point.
saying decades. I mean, he came, the, if once upon, in the last like couple years, yeah, I could say possibly. I gotta hear some of his new stuff. His last album, he didn't really
No, I
curse
think
that
it's
much,
been
but
at
he was saying
least,
like shit, bitch, shit like that here and there.
no, I don't know,
But
man.
he's been
You
very
might want to
more
just,
writing his more lyrical, and it's not gritty. He's been changing his whole perception.
yeah,
You're
I've read
definitely
an
right about
article
that.
and
But
I've
with the
actually
cursing thing,
checked,
I don't think.
and I think it's an article out there right now. He even talked about it and bragged about it in some interviews. Like, anyway, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. The other point that I wanted to make, the other point is you guys all know who Heavy D is, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace.
Hall of Famer there, right?
Yeah.
Rest in peace. He's a legend.
Go find me a record.
We had no Diddy if it wasn't.
Go find me a record where Heavy D's cursing. Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
legend. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, he said he's like a lot like you, 3-2. He was like, I make music that people can listen to with their mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it might walk right up to the line and make you squirm a little bit, but he doesn't cross that line, you know, like with his music. So, yeah. Hiding to be found. How about you? Do you factor in an audience or are you just in your head?
I guess before I was all up there trying to figure it out, but these days, like earlier I had mentioned, it's just sitting down and it's whatever's flowing through. And usually like something will come through that I'm not thinking I'm about to write about, and it'll come through and I'm like, oh, people gonna like that. I'm sure people can relate to that. So like, I'm not thinking about it, but like it all comes together, I guess. Yeah.
Organic. Got you. All right. Last question for the whole panel. Might be the hardest question. How do you personally decide, yeah, that's dope. It's done. I can take it out the oven. 3-2. Like, how do you know when it's ready to come out of the oven?
When a song is complete and I do a lot of run throughs. I'm not somebody that will go straight to the studio when I haven't memorized the song and like try to read it and figure out the cadence on the fly. Like I spend a lot of time after the writing is done. I spend a lot of time going over it, going over how my delivery is going to be, whether I go at it more aggressively or whether I do it a bit more monotone or whether I try to smooth my voice out a bit more. How I attack certain parts of the song, how I attack certain breakdowns, things like that. And I get it to the point where I know it like the back of my hand before I let anybody else see it. And by the time I step on a stage for the first time, or even by the time I don't even show my friends usually until the song is complete, so that I can make sure that on the fly I can make any adjustments. You know, for example, sometimes the microphone is quiet and you need to project more. Sometimes it's sensitive and you can lay back a little bit more. Sometimes the vibe of the crowd and everything gets you so hyped. And so figuring out how you're going to move around, your breathing, getting my breathing. So once I have the breathing solid to where I can say my bars without like gasping for air or having to cut off words and making sure that I have it placed properly, that's when I feel like it's ready for me to then take it to a crowd and get the crowd's perception of it. And then depending on how I feel when I perform it in front of people and their reaction to me, that'll decide whether it makes its way onto my set list of songs that I perform, or whether it goes on the back burner for songs that I'll record later for a project.
So, like, I used to work in sales a lifetime ago, and one of the things that you learn is the irony of preparation. Like, the more prepared you are, actually, the better you are able to freestyle. Because it's like once you have the fundamentals down, once you have the sales process internalized, you can deal with more interruptions and different bumps in the road, you know, and like get back on track in your head, you know, the more that you actually have it internalized. Like psychologically, it frees you up to deal with any changes or twists that come your way, because you can just handle it and easily return back to what you've been prepared to do. So, Jex, how about you? How do you know when this is dope? I'm ready to go ahead and release this. I'm ready to go.
I do
put it
my
up,
little
post
test.
it.
Always test out my theory. So I'll personally post like a little clip or something on Instagram. See how it is. See if people like it. That's how I know Roll With Me is gonna be fire. And I'm still working on that, you know. That's gonna be on the album I'm working on. I wanna drop by summertime next year. Roll With Me, like I said, that was written in 30 minutes, but the whole vibe is like so radio, like it's just perfect. So when I was able to test it, I tested out and get those replies. That's how I know it's a hit. You know, when I start, you know, making more club bangers and shit, that's type shit. Cause that's what I want to do. Actually, I want to be able to be versatile with everything I do. Lyrically, that makes sense with my image. So I tested at strip clubs, open mics. I test a lot of my tracks that are open mics. Um, yeah, anything that could get a good reaction from a few group of people, I know. Okay, maybe this will pop. You know, and I already know it sounds good, so that's why I'm testing it. Like there's shit I won't even put out to
So
people.
let me get it right. I'm gonna back up. That's what I'm getting at. I'm gonna back up. How do you know when you're ready to let someone listen to it? How do you
Off
know?
rip,
Yo, this is
it
dope.
probably be off rip through writing the song and then going over it and hearing it and just, oh yeah, this is gonna be it. Like Roll With Me when I was writing it and how once I made that hook, because usually I start with the hook if I make a song. And I'm going conceptual because that's about love and it's about some girl out here, or not girl, she a woman, but some woman out here, I got love for, and I'm telling her to roll with me. But it's so poppy and catchy, you know what I mean? Like I know it's gonna be a hit. And it may not be a hit, but but I feel that the people who go for it, the people I know damn well should like this. Like grandmothers I expect to like
There's
this song.
more.
For real.
Yeah,
I'm not playing.
I'm with you, dog.
And that's far from what I do, but that's a shock value in itself. Why is this lyrical battle rapper coming up with this song? I want to show y'all. Like, and I'm not, first of all, I did like 2, 3 battle raps is what I do for fun. Like,
Okay, so you're
I'm an
telling
artist.
me that this is your I Need Love track.
No, this is like my magnus opus. No, I don't think I've reached that yet. But, I think this is my,
You know what I'm getting at? You catch my
even the
reference,
love
right?
and the
You
love.
know,
No,
LL, battle rap.
you know what? Well, because LL came out as what? What was his first one?
I need a
Rock the
beat.
Bells, right? I Need a Beat was
Yeah.
his first single that introduced
Yeah.
LL,
I mean, I Need
and then
Love
he
was
started
on
becoming
the
the lover
second
boy.
album. Anyway, we got way off track. I got to get to Hiding to Be Found.
No, but I understand what you're saying though. But no, because I got you the song on your playlist.
Right.
That's a breakup song.
That is more.
This is just
Yeah.
more of like
Well,
me perfecting that
but I
songwriting so
think
people could really like, okay, I
I
understand you. You're not misunderstood anymore. That's why the album's called Misunderstood. It's like one of the singles I'm
think you
about to
going
put out for you.
soft,
You know what I mean?
dog. That's what I really think. I think you're starting to grow a heart.
I'm human, man.
So anyway,
I'm human.
Hiding to Be Found.
I guess I'm really picky when I listen to hip hop in general. Like personally, I gotta like the person's cadence. I gotta like the beat. I gotta like what you talking about. Like if you don't got all of that, I might not like it. Like I don't know what it is. It just said they all has to mesh well for me to enjoy it. So if I'm putting something out and if I'm sitting there working on it, I'm like, oh damn, okay.
Wow.
Then I'm like, oh okay, it's ready to go. And I guess the process has changed just because I used to think about it a lot, like, oh, this doesn't sound good enough. I gotta do this one better, this one better. But lately I've been trying to do that whole just be in the flow. So even if it's not perfect, if I feel like that's the best, I got it out the best at that point, it feels more pure or whatever, then I'll just like keep that not perfect type of thing and just go with it. That's a new thing I've been trying to do. But so even it not being perfect in the recording sense, it still feels like it's more perfect being imperfect, I guess, throwing it out there, if that makes sense.
I understand
I
that.
have a
Yeah.
I have a question for Hiding to Be
Go ahead.
Found because we're both Latinos and like you know what I mean. We're both in the Latin culture, so where
Look, I got a little bit, yeah. I'm mostly Polynesian though, and
oh
Asian,
even then that could be.
and some Spanish, yeah.
But you even being Asian, that's a big thing too, like the division in that with the cultures. But how do you? Because you're an MC, I've heard you rap, so you really like I said, you perfect. You one of them types that sit down and sharpen the pen. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
what's up? Because are your parents against it,
Oh, my parents are not against it. No, my parents are
or
supportive
or like
in
people
all of
in
my
your
endeavors.
family who probably be like not, you know what I mean? Because it's such a cultural division. I know me being Latino, I try to incorporate Spanish rhymes. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
I want to
see.
start
Yeah, yeah,
getting
yeah.
into doing reggaeton and hip hop, so it wouldn't look because I'm Latino, even though I act black and I am because I'm half. Like I'm, but I also have a Latino culture as well. You know, and that's also African. But you know how to, so, you know how, yeah. But so how do you go into that,
Into my own cultural stuff, into the
or
music.
not even cultural stuff? Does that even come into mind when you're creating, or like how you're gonna
No,
approach it?
actually not at all. No, not really,
That's dope.
because when I'm there, like I'm really trying not to think about it and just try to use whatever's next to me. Like I do a lot of guitars and
Hmm.
stuff. So that's basically what makes it mostly into there. If I ever feel stuck, I know I can always do something on there. So I don't really think about that though.
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, about the
So we're going to wrap this main topic up. And you guys have all shared your ideas of what hip hop is and a little bit about your creative process. I'm not an MC. I don't write, none of that. But, I do have an opinion on what hip hop is. So here's my closing thoughts on what hip hop is to me. And a lot of people will define hip hop as a popular style of music. But hip hop is way more than just music, you know? And for me, I like to consider hip hop more like a metaphorical treasure chest. Like it's a box, a treasure chest, right? That's the place where I collect the art of these four main artists. I collect the art that MCs, breakers, graffiti writers, and DJs produce. Like honestly I could honestly sit down and watch DJ videos on YouTube for like hours. Just watch them scratch, cut, mix. And Jex, what we talked about, like you have a definition of hip hop that extends beyond those four. But quite honestly, me, some of the things on your list that are in hip hop that you would include
The
within the culture of hip hop?
the 4 elements plus 5 more.
Maybe. What's the other 5?
Let me
What's
look that up
the
real
other
quick,
5?
real quick.
Yeah, I know people talk
I'll bring it up
about
for you right
like
now.
business and things. People talk about this and that. Da, da, da. Listen, like I said, I can watch hours of DJs, right? You're not going to get me to watch 5 minutes of a business meeting. It's not going to
Oh, you
happen.
hear me? Yeah,
Like,
thanks.
I can watch hours of breakdancers. Breakdancers. They'll kill me for that one. I can watch hours.
All right, so
See,
here's the elements of hip
I
hop.
didn't grow up in, right? I grew up in the Midwest. When it hit
It was
me,
breakdancing,
it was
yeah.
breakdance.
And then you find out they're like, yeah, no.
I didn't realize that
Here's the
real cool was can't
non-elements of hip
stand that
hop.
term.
5 more
But
were added by
that's
the
what I grew
tempo
up
with
on.
hip hop.
So,
Now there's
whatever. They gonna
backing up
whatever.
that could definitely make it a real reasoning of why it's an element. Especially with the times of now and through the times of hip hop. You have one. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me use knowledge. The knowledge of hip hop, the history and the knowledge of what's going on, knowing on what's up and everything, even the black knowledge and the history of the people who are in hip hop, the knowledge of those people as well, and culture and everything else. Graffiti, b-boying, so being basically a breakdancer, a b-boy person, you know what I mean, a hip hopper, you feel me? The movement of that hip hop is b-boy, DJing, fashion, the clothes that we wear. You see that there's people who consider themselves not black, but they dress black. That's the culture of hip hop type situation. Language, the language, how we speak and our different vocabulary in certain areas of hip hop in America and around the world. And seeing what we all 3 of us do. And of course you being a B-boy as well, Derek. And beatboxing is another one. Beatboxing actually started from an actual machine, then it went into the vocal as the likes of Biz Markie and the world famous Dougie Fresh, rest in peace to Biz Markie, and then entrepreneurship, the business of hip hop, which is what we see now, and what we do on our own independent time.
Yeah.
So we are
right.
our own business people as well. We do all 9
Yeah.
elements, no matter what.
I don't. And they can be mad at me. I don't really care.
It's cool. It's cool though. It's cool though. But somehow you do all 9 elements. Believe
Maybe.
it or not.
Maybe. But I can just tell you this, right? Like I'll listen to MCs. That's all I do, actually. It's like I ride around at work and I just have my headphones on and I listen to a lot of you guys, honestly. So, knowledge, language, beatboxing, fashion, and business. You don't have any of that. None of that. They all exist over here, right? They all exist in the world, like they're there. But if you don't have these 4 artists creating art, if you don't have the MC, the DJ, the graffiti writer, and the breakers creating art, you don't have hip hop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I focus on. I focus on the core 4, right? All that other stuff.
But those
fine.
core
If you
4
want
breed
to-
the 5. You understand? Those core 4 breed the 5. Those
We're not gonna
core
argue.
are I'm not arguing. I'm telling you that the core 4 breed the 5.
I understand what you're telling me.
You understand? Like it breeds it.
I understand. 2 + 2 = 4.
So I agree with you
understand what you're
totally.
telling me. It's not even that I disagree with what you're telling me. I'm just not interested. Fashion, language, beatboxing, business, it just doesn't interest me, like the core 4 arts do. So that's all I'm saying. That's the way I kind of see it. My definition of hip hop has boundaries. It's just those 4, right? Those other things, fine. We can be cool with that, but that's going to be my mic drop on the subject, all right? So, Jex, I'm telling you right now, I look forward to you expounding, explaining, convincing me, pulling me in, dragging, kicking and screaming into those other boxes.
You gotta have the open mind. I'm not gonna drag you.
My
What I'm
mind's
gonna
locked
do
up.
is just speak my truth. You're gonna let me speak my truth as much as I let you speak your truth.
I'm gonna throw away the key, dog.
But you have to have an open mind. I ain't gonna make you do, because a lot of people close-minded in America, especially about their own culture. And that's just real.
Anyway, all right. let's just keep it moving. We got to get ready to wrap this whole thing up. But just a couple of things before we get out of here.
That
There are 2 segments that I would like to include in every episode. One is a you should know this blank segment. This album, this art, this song, this fact, this person. And the other segment is called Gems. And what I'm hoping is that you guys will put some gems in my treasure chest. Okay? So we're going to do those 2 segments. But before we do that, I need to just back up and give a general overview of how this entire series is going to go. We have 12 episodes altogether. And the first 4 are going to cover the culture of hip hop in general. We've already discussed today a little bit about art, its definition, the artist's motivation, things like that. The next 4 episodes are going to talk about the core 4 arts of hip hop. We're going to get into the origins of those 4 arts. And then the last 4 we're going to talk about is the art of those 4. We're going to get into what it is that makes that artist dope. All right. So now we got all that handled. Let's get to these last 2 topics. You should know this person. Hiding to be found. I had asked you to help me out with.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna do Sylvia Robinson. Yeah. And I already have enough facts ready for the remaining episodes. But if you guys have any you should know facts that you want to toss in there, feel free in future episodes, just let me know. But Sylvia Robinson is in my you should know this person selection for today. She's, do you have just a quick bio on her?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just give me just like 1 paragraph or something.
Already, let's see. Born 1935, she was an American singer and record producer. She achieved success as a performer on 2 R&B chart toppers as half of Mickey and Sylvia,
Yep.
and for Love is Strange and her solo record Pillow Talk in 1973. She became
Yes, she
known for
did.
her work as founder and CEO of the pioneering hip-hop label Sugarhill Records. She's also credited as the driving force behind 2 landmark singles in the hip-hop genre, Rapper's Delight by Sugarhill Gang and The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, both of which she produced.
So
Cool. Is that good? Should I
that's
keep going? or-
perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect. She's AKA the mother of hip hop. Now, hip hop, by the time Sylvia had the idea to get into the business, hip hop had already been around for a long time. Jex, you know that, right? But what she did that was critical to the art form that we all love today is that she was the first one to put it on wax. Even the people in the parks, the DJs, rappers, all these cats who were masters of the craft by this point, by the time she got exposed to it, they were killing it in the parks. They were making money. They were doing shows, live shows all around New York. They already had the formula down. It was done. Like they was killing it. But they hadn't put it on wax yet. And they all thought that putting it on wax was stupid.
That kind of is true. The MCs thought it was stupid. The DJs were smart enough to put it on tape. That's how you have tape circulate around the United States. Before Sylvia Roberts, so
It wasn't on wax.
it wasn't
Nobody-
on wax. It was already on wax by the DJs.
She approached several DJs to go do Rapper's Delight. They all passed. The top DJs at the time passed. But regardless, her genius, the thing that makes Sylvia a genius, is her ear, her producer's ear. She had the previous industry history, with her solo career. And when she was conceiving the making of Sugarhill out of nothing, the Sugarhill Gang out of nothing, because, she selected those 3 rappers, she put them in the studio. She used her label's backup band. The music that's on that song is the house band, emulating what Chic did with Good Times, because they didn't have samples. They didn't just go grab Good Times record and play it and they rapped over it. she had her in-house band recreate the sound, the music as best they could. So it's her producer's ear that was top notch. Now, fast forward a few more years to like, well, now Rapper's Delight is the thing that set it off. Rapper's Delight
First one to
honestly
go
is
gold.
the thing that lit the match for the music industry, for hip hop as a business enterprise. Because before that, before Sylvia showed up, rappers, DJs had no, I mean, they were creating the art and they were having success locally, but they didn't have any commercial success. They were creating it for like hood popularity. A little bit of money, you know, they made a little bit of money out of the trunk and they used it primarily as an opportunity to sell weed. You know, they were doing it for all kinds of different reasons. But Sylvia, once Rapper's Delight hit and they saw that they could have commercial success with it, that's what changed everybody's focus. Okay. Now they got a different goal. But the message, that song legitimized rap as an art. Because prior to the message, it was a lot of good times, partying, let's have fun, braggadocious, a lot of old school, you know, rap, which was great. Don't get me wrong, it was really cool. But the message made people realize that, yo, this is an art form. This art actually has something to say. And it like legitimized the entire culture. It legitimized it as an art form. And yes, like you said, she was a Jex. Like you said, she was a liar. She was a crook. But that's almost like par for the course at that time. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that she was right or anything, but she wasn't unique in being a liar and a crook. In some ways, she was just doing what was, she was practicing industry standards. But she was a true pioneer in every sense. And I'm talking about one, check it out. She was a woman in the music industry at that time. She's a Black woman in the music industry at that time. She was the Black business executive and business owner of a record label in the music industry at that time. And she was a real genuine record producer. Like she worked the boards. You know what I'm saying? Like she knew how to get in there and work the boards for real.
Yeah, she also was a singer with Mickey and Sylvia. She was
Right. So what I'm saying is she's a unique bundle of talent and people should know who Sylvia Robinson is. Not only did she, you know, they call her the mother of hip hop, but she hasn't been duplicated. It's been like 50 years. It's been over 50 years. You haven't had another Sylvia Robinson on the stage. There's not been another Black woman who's run a label. Who's the Black Diddy? Who's the Black Master P? Who's the Black,
You mean the female?
yeah.
Well, I mean, Nicki Minaj.
I mean, you
Nicki
know,
Minaj is doing that right
yeah,
now.
I'm
She
sorry.
just started
Thank
her
you.
own label.
You know what I'm saying.
And they trying to push her back.
Like, who's the female? Who's another famous record label owner? But this is in 50 years.
Nope.
You ain't never had another Sylvia Robinson on the scene.
100.
She's unique and she should be recognized. And that's my you should know for today's segment. And all right, so the next segment, the last segment that we're going to do, and then we're going to get out of here, is gems. I have some gems for the treasure chest, but I would like for you guys to throw some gems in the treasure chest. So 3, 2, who you got?
So, one gem for me is a song that really like reached me just for how it's an underground song by an underground group that came out in, I want to say like 2001 or 2. But it's by this group called the Life Savers, and they have a song called Hellohihey. And I remember one of my homies in culinary school playing that song for me on vinyl. And I remember just here because it's a dope story. It's a story about an MC who's um going through interactions with people that are very egotistical and in different elements of his life. Like he's in the first verse he's rapping about getting ready to go on stage and being approached by a fan. And the fan is like a young aspiring rapper telling him how dope he is and how like, yeah, I like what you're doing right now, but just so you know, like me and my crew are next up and we're doing all these dope things and we're the best that's ever happened. And then the second verse is him being on the phone with one of his best friends who's talking about, you know, how he heard how his music's doing and they're doing all right, but that their music would be better if they did a feature with him, and how like he's at the top of the game and they're all right and they're cool, but you know they'd be elevated if they incorporated him. And then the last verse, he gets approached by somebody, by a voice talking to him, and then comes out that the voice that he's talking to is actually his ego. And then his ego explains that both of those two other interactions are iterations of his former self, and realizing that this whole time he was trapped in his own ego, and that he's been going around rubbing people the wrong way on accident by being playing on his own ego. And so then him like at the very end of the song apologizing to everybody that he may have rubbed the wrong way due to being due to playing in his ego. And I just think that the way that the concept of the song and the flow and the just the idea of it and how it was executed is like a masterclass in the formation of a hip hop track to me.
Structural. Dope. For all you guys, will you send me links to this so I can
sure.
include it in the notes? Hiding to be found. You have a gem for us.
Yeah. I'll say Sadistic's Absolution. It's basically, he's saying lots of words, and he was an artist I saw and I was like, oh, you can rap about this shit. And he's just like all about himself, just like all up in his head and everything. And like, that's actually what this tattoo is based off of here. This zombie looking lady.
Where is he from?
Yeah, he's from Seattle originally. I think he's in California right now. But yeah, he's from Washington State, Northwest, and it was just basically a lot of stuff in his head and made me realize I could do the same thing, outlet stuff. So that's
What's the track called?
Absolution by Sadistic.
Cool.
It's off of the Balancing Act album. Yeah, so underground hip hop. It's really cool. You should check it out.
All right, Jex, you have a gem for us.
Well, I got two.
All right.
The first gem I could say is Edutainment by Boogie Down Productions.
All right.
Edutainment came out in I think 1990. It has the single "Love's Gonna Get You." I don't know if y'all heard that song, "Love's Gonna Get You." But it has also what else is on there? Beef, which is a song about how beef is processed in America and how it's used to kill us. Just different songs like that. It's education and entertainment put into one. And at that time, KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions were one of the top hip hop artists because of their conscious speaking. That album next to like Public Enemy's Nation of Million Can't Stop Us and all the other great conscious albums was hip hop at the time. That one will show you can mix entertainment people with entertainment. The second one is a group out here called Gift of Death, God. They're like a little Wu-Tang from our head, different walks of life in one group, and they produce, engineer, rap, and they make great music. They heard their first album, dope as hell. They coming out with the second one. I think that's a new gem that's gonna come out the rough and shine really bright. So you gotta hold it first, yeah.
So, and you'll be able to. Everybody will be able to send me like the links to all of this so I can include it in the notes.
Yeah,
correct?
I just sent you a link.
All right. So this is the first episode, and I'm not going to do this all the time, but I have an old school playlist that for me encapsulates what hip hop sounded like in the beginning. So if anybody's interested in how like hip hop sounded before Sylvia really flipped it, before Sylvia put it on wax, you should just listen to Rapper's Delight, okay, by the Sugarhill Gang. Now, Rhymin and Rappin by Tanya Sweet Tea Winley, King Tim III by the Fatback Band. All of these songs were released in 1979, and there's a little bit of an argument, like which one of these was the first rap song to get put on wax. But 79, no doubt, was the year that Rapper's Delight went viral. And these three songs all came out in 1979. And I don't know who went into the studio first, but Sylvia Robinson beat everybody to the punch. Then the next year, you had The Adventures of Super Rhyme by Jimmy Spicer. My jam, Rhythm, Rap, Rock by Count Cool Out. Is that just not the dopest name in hip hop? Count Cool Out, right? Oh, wait, my bad. I think Funk You Up by Sequence also came out in 1979 too. So you should definitely check out that track. Sisters was getting down from Ground Zero. Like if you consider 1979 Ground Zero for hip hop as an industry, because, you know, like I said, they have been doing it for a long time before 1979. But if you consider 1979 as Ground Zero, Sisters was right there from the gate. Now you've got over on the West Coast, you got to give props to, because you got to give props to the West Coast, Gigolo Rap by Disco Daddy and Captain Rap. So those are just a couple of tracks that if anybody is, well, no, wait. I think it might have came out. Well, you also got Kurtis Blow and Christmas Rapping. My bad. That came out in
The Watts
1979.
Poets
also.
is considered one of the first rappers also.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
1960.
So those are my gems to kind of get everybody, if you're interested in listening to those tracks. That'll give you a really good idea of what hip hop sounded like when it first spilled out of New York and like went across the world. These are some of the tracks that'll give you an idea. So anyway, that's going to wrap things up. Appreciate y'all getting down. Next episode, we're going to discuss the origin story for hip hop, and we're going to try to separate myth from reality. So thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate y'all getting down. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your talent. Peace.
Bye.